For the RMB to really become an international reserve currency of choice on a real international currency, there needs to be the ability to be able to have freedom of exchange and greater liquidity. I see that there is long-term potential, so we are playing in this RMB internationalization space. We need to see that the Chinese consumer gains confidence so that they are willing to spend, so that they're willing to invest. And building of confidence doesn't come overnight, right? It will come as people gradually, as things start to bottom up and people start to see some green shoots of recovery. I see the continued sort of leapfrogging of Chinese in the new technology, new economy, and green tech area. And I think that's a great area for collaboration with a lot of the ASEAN countries.
Good afternoon, Susan. Thank you very much for joining us today. We all want to know that what position does China occupy in the financial area on the financial layout of DBS, and could you share with us about DBS' latest plan in China?
Okay. So China is, the biggest country in Asia today in terms of GDP. Of course, there's also India and Indonesia, which are all very big countries in Asia where we also have presence. And so the connectivity of China to ASEAN is a very important part of our business. And that is the business that we are seeing double-digit growth every year, strong double-digit growth.
And we want to maybe we could talk something about the trade, because we know that the version 3.0 of the China-ASEAN free trade area is making progress.
Yes.
So how do you see the development progress of these relations between China and ASEAN?
So exactly what you just said, that China-ASEAN 3.0 is seeing great progress, especially in two areas. One is the digital economy, another one is the green economy. China-ASEAN trade today is over $911 billion. That is bucking the trend of global de-globalization, right? The globe is having less global trade. ASEAN and China, it's growing from strength to strength. So where I see great opportunities is, for example, with different countries, there's different sort of trade connectivity. With Indonesia, I often say that Indonesia is a green resource superpower. They have some of the world's largest nickel mines. And China is a green tech superpower. So combining China's green technology with their own natural resource in nickel mining, we can create really a great green economy for all of Asia and the world, because the world needs more nickel, which is an important precursor into the EV battery. So that's one. And then the China trade to Malaysia, we are seeing some now developing connectivity for Malaysia in three areas. The first is in data centers, the second is in logistics, and the third is also in high-end manufacturing. So quite interesting developments there. A lot of Chinese companies do use Singapore as an international hub. It's an international financing hub, an international IP hub. And they use Singapore and they set up a regional trading hub in Singapore to then connect with the rest of the world.
Maybe we could talk something about the finance part. So how would you comment, or maybe how would you see what progress have China and ASEAN have made in the financial cooperation during these years?
Yeah. So one of the outcomes that I see is that there is more and more internationalization of RMB and the use of RMB in trade. And also, if you look at the SWIFT data, today RMB has become number 4 in the world as an international currency, settlements currency. Number 1 is US dollar, number 2 is euro, number 3 is sterling, number 4 now is RMB. So that tells you that the RMB is increasing in usage, both for supply chain and also for trade and for payments. And that means Chinese companies are definitely, having more of their supply chain offshore. We see a lot of connectivity between China and the Middle East now, for example. There's a lot more cross-border trade. And of course, we continue to see that growth between China and ASEAN. For the RMB to really become an international reserve currency of choice on a real international currency, there needs to be the ability to be able to have freedom of exchange and greater liquidity. I see that there is long-term potential, so we are playing in this RMB internationalization space. But will it take a while? I think it will take a while.
So how should we further improve the financial cooperation of China and ASEAN?
Yeah. So I guess policy clarity, transparency, and longevity is important. And the fact that, people know that if it's a freely exchangeable currency, that's important. For example, we've just got approval now to do direct RMB to IDR exchange, for example. That's crucial because there's so many Chinese companies now in Indonesia, doing business in Indonesia. For them to be able to have direct CNY and IDR exchange will save them a lot of money. Otherwise, they have to go through another currency. And so as we have more and more usage of this, bilateral cross-border currency-to-currency exchange, I see a lot more use cases for the RMB to be utilized and more internationalized. And I guess, the second is because China is so advanced in digital payments and digital network, the ability also for consumers to start using their own currencies freely when they come to China, whether connecting their credit card to WeChat Pay or Alipay or their Union card, their China Union card, credit card with their own, with a Chinese wallet, or to be able to use an overseas wallet here in China. I think that would also encourage more consumer flows. So there's more trade flows, there's more consumer flows. And of course, I think there's more capital market flows as well. Now today, RMB is actually the CNY is actually a cheaper currency to borrow in. Right? So companies that want to borrow, they can issue panda bonds, but using the panda bonds, they can then think about swapping it using a cross-currency swap into US dollars or something. And if there is an ability to have that money sent out, then that could also create a lot more demand and supply for RMB capital markets, for example. So I think there are a lot of opportunities both around consumer payments, around trade settlements, and also digital payments and capital markets.
So how do you see the status or maybe the role of the US dollar? Is this something changed?
Well, the US dollar is still the dominant currency, and it's been helped obviously by high rates. With rates now at all-time high in the US, people are keeping a lot more US dollars because the risk-free rate is more than 5%. It's a good currency to earn, to make money in from a risk-free basis. Obviously, I think due to both what I just said about rising China trade with different countries and the internationalization and more increasing use of RMB as a source of currency for trade settlements. And also, I think with geopolitics, there is also a move to rely not so much on just one currency. People want to have a diversified pool of currencies, right? So it could be the RMB, it could be some other currency. But I think there is going to be a need to do both, right? The dollar will still be pretty dominant. I don't think that's going to go away in the short term. But I see there is a need for a more diversified currency mix.
But will we face some difficulties during this trend to build a diversified international monetary system?
I think these difficulties are not insurmountable. So these are difficulties that can be met. I don't think they're insurmountable. As I said, the fact that now you can have a direct exchange, at least DBS can help between the rupiah and CNY. There will be other currencies that will be wanting to do that as well. Already we are seeing quite a lot of usage of RMB as a settlement between, let's say, the Middle East and China. That's also a growing area. So as long as China continues to trade with various parts of the world, as long as China opens up its capital markets as a set, and it's whether it's equity markets or bond markets, and as long as there's also digital payments around the consumer world, I think there should be multiple channels in which we can work on the internationalization of the RMB.
How do you see the economic growth of China, especially this year?
I am positive on the innovation, especially the technological innovation in the green tech, the EV, NEV space, especially in the GBA area. I think there's still some clouds around the real estate part. But to me, the most important thing is confidence, is consumer confidence. And we need to see that animal spirits, right? We need to see that the Chinese consumer gains confidence so that they are willing to spend, so that they're willing to invest, whether it's to buy more property or to increase their domestic consumption. And building of confidence doesn't come overnight, right? It will come as people gradually, as things start to bottom up and people start to see some green shoots of recovery. Whether the green shoots come in the form of the stock market getting better. And the second sign I'm looking for is the bottoming out of the property market here and more liquidity. So I can see the government working very hard, whether it's, to think about longer term, bringing some of the oversupply to create public housing, right, for some of the lower income groups, or to complete the uncompleted projects and start to sell them. This will take time. And where I see the most encouraging signs is obviously in the new economy, where, the Chinese, whether it's the Chinese enterprise, private enterprise or otherwise, we see a lot of focus on new economy industries, whether it's the green economy. And China's done such a good job in reducing CO2 emissions. So I see the continued sort of leapfrogging of Chinese in the new technology, new economy, and green tech area. And I think that's a great area for collaboration with a lot of the ASEAN countries. I think the real estate market needs to bottom, and we need to see some confidence come back with the consumer. And we need to see some capital markets recovery. And if we can see all that, it's a positive move.
How do you see the spaces of the wealth management of China?
The Chinese wealth management business has matured. They now want to have a wealth partner that they know is safe, and a bank that is safe, that can withstand. Safety is now important. 10 years ago, maybe they were not looking at how safe is my bank. Today, they're all looking at how safe is the bank. Can this last many generations? They're also more sophisticated in asset allocation. So in the past, maybe they were very concentrated, maybe just real estate or maybe just tech companies, right? Now they realize that concentration can lead to very high volatility. And you have very high volatility and you leverage against that, you can have very big mark-to-market losses that you cannot continue. So I think that following the last few years of market correction, the Chinese average customer is now more sophisticated, more risk aware, and also more counterparty aware. So now they have become a lot more sophisticated and more cautious. And they also want to have maybe a more global, diversified portfolio that has liquidity and risk diversity.